Good day, subscribers. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am Jeremy. This is the Financial Education Channel, and today we're talking about, should you invest your money or should you pay off debt? Now, this question gets asked to me a lot from some of my older viewers, some of my viewers, that are 30 plus years old that maybe have accrued debt. Some of you guys that are watching this video that may be super young, you might not even have debt yet because you might not have a credit card or have a car loan, those kinds of things. But I get this question a lot, and I will give you guys what my opinion is on this. Now, first off, credit cards should not be used unless you're trying to build credit. My wife and I, we have zero credit card debt. Zero credit card debt on all our credit cards. I don't even know why we have credit cards. Maybe just to use if you need a hotel room or something and you need to have a card that's for the fee or something, like one of those cards in case you tear up the hotel room. I think that's why we still have credit cards. But we use them to build credit, and credit cards are a great way to build credit when you're young and you need to, prove yourself and buy something on the credit card, pay it off right away, and kind of prove yourself up the ranks. But for you guys, don't take out credit cards. But we do have an auto loan, so auto loans are legit. Sometimes you need an auto loan, sometimes you need a home loan. So let's say you have debt. Let's say you have $30,000 in debt. We're not going to ask how you got that debt. Maybe it's credit cards, unfortunately. Maybe it's car debt. And let's say you have an extra $2,000 coming in per month in income that can either go toward paying that debt or it can go toward investing. What I would do personally is, if that debt is the interest rate on that debt, if the interest rate on that debt is over 8%, for sure pay the debt. Absolutely. Put all that extra money toward paying the debt. If that interest rate is around 6 to 7%, I would split it. I would use about half the money to invest, about half the money to pay toward that debt. If it's under 6%, I would absolutely invest, and I would pay the minimum amount you could while still getting that super low interest rate. So if all that debt's at a 4% interest rate or 3% interest rate or something, I would just pay the minimum amount you can pay on that. The reason being is the stock market on average goes up around 8% per year for the last million years or whatever. So you can say, if I'm just an average investor, I should be able to get 8%. Now, hopefully you learn from me and you learn from a lot of other ways and you're above an average investor. But even if you are an average investor, guys, 8% return, well, then let's just focus on that. Let's just focus on getting that 8%. Let's not bank on, we'll get 15%, so then we don't need to pay the debt at all. Let's not bank on that. Let's just bank on being an average investor, which is why if it's above 8%, the debt, the interest rate on that debt, you should absolutely, guys, without question, pay the debt. Without question. But if you're paying 3-4%, why not invest? Why not try to make your money into more money? Because like I said, if you're just getting a decent return, an 8% return, that's going to make a lot more money that you can pay that debt in the future, right? You just have to not screw up and lose the money somehow, those kinds of things. But as long as you're making minimum payments and the interest rates are low, it makes no sense to pay off that debt rather than invest where you can make a lot more money. The 6 to 7% range I talked about, that's why I said, split the money, maybe $1,000 toward investing per month, $1,000 toward paying that debt, because at that point you're kind of getting close to that average return there, so it might make sense to put some toward paying that debt off. And also, the great thing about paying debt off is it takes a burden off you. When you have a lot of debt and you're carrying around a lot of debt, it can put a burden on you, especially credit card debt. That can put a big burden on your shoulders, and it can just make you feel like, oh, I got all this debt behind me. When you get that lifted off your shoulders and you pay off the debt, you're going to feel like $1 million. And then the great thing is, when you get out that debt paid off, as long as you don't go back into debt, you're going to have maximum amount of money to go straight toward investing at that point. There's no, minimum payments you have to make on that debt. There's no anything. So that is my take, guys, on investing versus debt. In my opinion, stay away from the credit cards unless you're trying to build your credit. Stay away from those credit cards. Auto loans, don't get an auto loan if it's above a 10% interest rate, unless it's absolutely, positively the only way you can do it, guys. I've seen so many people get auto loans at 20+% interest rates, 15+% interest rates, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it just makes me want scratch my face off. Are you kidding me? A 15-20% interest rate. It's insane, guys. So please don't do that if you're young. Build your credit through the credit card system first. Make small payments and then pay it off and purchase something again on the credit card, little stuff, and then pay it off right away. Build your credit card, your credit rating up that way. Then go ahead, then pay, buy a car at that point when you get a much lower interest rate, because I don't want to see any of you guys paying a 15-20% interest rate. Bottom line, that's sick. That's disgusting. Thank you so much for watching this today, guys. If you haven't subscribed, you may want to talk about personal finance, just like we did today. Talk about business on this channel. I'm an entrepreneur. I give entrepreneur tips every single week. And we also talk so much about the stock market, which we kind of did a little bit in this video, although it's more personal finance related. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and have a great day.